Going to ask me a question.
Okay, we're talking with Jim West, who has the Skydive Greene County Skydiving Center over in Xenia, and Jim is telling his life story here today, and about how he got in skydiving. So, how'd you get in skydiving?
Well, I first saw him jumping into Normandy in World War II in the newspaper in Pike County, Kentucky, and I didn't even have any idea what an airplane was. But I saw a parachute, and then the Sears and Roebuck catalog came out, and they had paratrooper boots in it for Christmas, in the Christmas edition. And I told my granny that's what I wanted for Christmas. And Christmas morning, they were sitting there on the Christmas tree, and I strapped them on and headed for the Levasseur River Bridge. And my Nana that raised me was 5'2" and chewed tobacco, and had a little hickory switch she disciplined with. And she realized Christmas morning that I wasn't around, so she came down to the Levasseur River Bridge, and there I was jumping off the bridge with my paratrooper boots. But I was jumping on the shore, not in the water. And all the way home, a little switch, all the way home. And I was squalling like a wildcat, you know. But I still attribute that to the fact that I was so fast in a 100 yard and 220 yard dash in school and everything. Is the little switch learned me to be fast. And I graduated at 17, but I was playing against kids that are 21 years old.
Oh,
but I was really fast for a white boy, and everybody always come to the Fairborn games thinking that this Jim West had to be, or this Ron Moran had to be black. You know, no white boys that fast. And anyway, it all went from there. So
you were Ron Moran at one point?
I was never legally adopted, and you want me to tell everything?
Oh, yeah.
Well, my dad was a coal miner, and his name was Philip West, and he was married to my mom when she was 16 years old, and they had a Willys Coupe. And every Saturday night was family night, and they would take the Willys Coupe and go for a family ride over the mountains. And Friday nights, the miners all got together at the beer garden and just had fist fights to see who was the baddest guy around. And my dad, fair and square, beat up the baddest guy around and beat him good. And the guy couldn't live with it, so he knew that Saturday night was the family night. My dad took me, my mother, my sister, Pat, in the Willys Coupe and went on a ride over Johns Creek Mountain. So there's a lot of S-turns where you could barely creep around, and there was backup spots. So if you met another car, somebody had to back up, and it went past, and then the other one went on. Well, this guy knew exactly what my dad did, and when my dad came around the corner, he stepped up out of the side of the road with a pistol, a .38 long barrel, and my dad got out of the car and went after him and emptied it on him. And then I grew up listening to my dad's brothers telling about how they were going to kill this guy when he got out of prison. But thank God he died in prison like 2 years later of TB. But just an unbelievable story. And then my little granny was 5 foot tall and chewed tobacco. Mm-hmm. And every night she put me to bed and give me a spit bath. And I go, and Ronnie, don't ever drink, don't ever smoke, and don't ever take God's name in vain. And I never forgot it.
Oh, wow. So you want to tell the story about how you got the drop zone? Well,
skydiving had just been started. The Army had just, a Frenchman named Jacques Estelle came over. The Army paid him to come over to Fort Bragg and teach 5 guys from the 101st Airborne Division and the 82nd Airborne Division how to free fall. And I went through jump school at Fort Campbell. These guys had just come back and started the 101st Airborne Division and Free Fall Club. And I went through jump school, 534 people. I'm 19 years old, never done anything but run track and play football. Oh. And when I got done at jump school, they called me in the office. And Henry Slamansky was D-52, one of the very first free fallers in the military. And the clerk says, PFC West reports Sergeant Szymanski. So I go in, lock my heels together, grin real big. He comes around the desk, and I don't know what he's coming for. And his fist looked like a sledgehammer. And he hit me right in the chest and knocked me down. I got up and smiled again, and he said, "Son, you just don't get it. Get that smile off your face." And he says, "Do you have any idea why we called here?" And I said, "No, Sergeant." He says, "Well, we need a PT instructor, and I'm a buck private, you know." He says, "Do you think you'd be interested in the job?" And it was quite a privilege to be part of the airborne cadre that taught paratroopers how to jump, you know. Yeah. And of course, I'm just overjoyed. "Are you kidding me? You know, am I interested in a job?" He said, "Well, here's the deal. We'll send you to a supply school. You'll have to be a supply clerk until we can make you a sergeant." So I said, "Okay." So I was a supply clerk for about 3 weeks. They busted a corporal, gave me his stripes, and then they busted a sergeant a week later who should have never been in the airborne and gave me his stripes. So I went from a private PFC to a sergeant in like 3 months in the Army, which is unheard of. And then I was put on the gravel as an instructor. And the cadre, the people that run jump school, control the free fall program. So instead of being on a 2-year waiting list, and I was now cadre, so I went right into the free fall program. And that's how I got there.
And so when you got out, did you jump some more?
Well, when I got out, there was a club in Dayton, right beside the river. What's the name of the little airport? Still there, Marine.
Oh,
Marine Airport. Mm-hmm. And another guy that got out of the 82nd Airborne Division had started the Dayton Parachute Club. Well, I went down there, and they were waiting on a pilot that Sunday would fly them 3 or 4 loads, and then that was it, you know. Well, my whole idea then was to start a place, have my own airport, my own airplanes, and teach people to jump 7 days a week. And everybody thought it was crazy, you know. And I went to the first banker to buy my airplane, and Mr. Robinette was his name. And he said, "Well, do you fly?" And I said, "No, sir, don't have any intention of flying it. I'm going to jump out of it." And he's like, "You're crazy." So I called the Citizens Bank in Shelby, Ohio, by Akron. And they said, "Sure, we don't care what you're going to do with it. You know, we'll sell you." And that's how I got finance for my first airplane. You know.
Huh. And so then you were from Xenia?
I was from Fairborn.
Fairborn.
But when we first started jumping, Denver Bloom, a farmer down the road here, 2.5 miles, had a little 170, and he was flying us on Sunday afternoon after he got out of church. And one day we were going to jump in the polo grounds for the polo games over in Dayton. And he said, "Well, I can't get out of my strip. It's only 1,400 feet. So meet me at Port Xenia." And we've been going right by the place. The little sign out there said airport. And he says, "It's back down Jasper Pike on the right, going back toward town." So we came in that Saturday morning, and as soon as we got here, a guy named Cud Dawson owned the airport, and there was 13 airplanes here. 2 in this hangar. This building used to be a hangar with 2 airplanes in it. One was the city manager of Xenia. And the old guy was real cold and nasty when we came in. And he says, "Well, what are you doing here?" And he says, "Well, we're waiting on Denver Bloom," and he knew Denver, to come and pick us up for a jump. And he just all of a sudden turned a smile on his face, and he says, "Well, by any chance would you be interested in buying this place?" He says, "It's for sale." And at that time, we hear Denver coming. "Don't you go anywhere. I'll be back with my dad Monday morning." And me and my dad came back Monday morning, and we ended up, he owned the building, and he had a lease on the land. So we paid him for the building, and then got the lease transferred to us with the farmer, Bob Bickett. And in time, we bought all the acres. Bob Bickett's farm, his brother Joe, and that's where and then we built 4,000-foot runways and all that stuff, yeah, and the buildings and all that.
How many jumps do you suppose you have?
I can account for 16,000 some.
How many reserve rides?
68. That was not involved, and I was a test jumper for the Air Force here for years, and there was many were surprised that everybody got paid really well for it.
Well, you tested equipment for Wright-Patterson?
Yeah, the Air Force ejection seats and all kinds of neat stuff. And square parachutes came out, and everything was so new then. And of course, the Air Force, nobody wanted, the military didn't want anything to do with them, you know. And now all of our special forces, everything, we still have paratroopers jump around with parachutes, but all the special forces people and everything use square parachutes. Which are,
do they use silk round parachutes anymore?
no, no. Silk is long gone.
Well, how many airplanes do you think you ended up owning?
At one time, I had 21 Cessnas and 6 Twins and 2 Beech 18s and 2 Lockheed Lodestars.
Wow.
In the clubs, I did exactly what I told the guys would do when they worked for me. Atlanta, New Orleans, Louisville, Bardstown, and I told you work for me, and then I'll be your banker, because no bank back then would loan you money to buy airplanes or anything, you know, they thought you were crazy. And that's what I did, and every one of them were very successful for years, and the only one that survived forever and then retired a few years ago was the first offspring in Louisville, Kentucky, Kenny Heisman. And that was basically because he loved what he was doing, and he never planned on handing it down to somebody else and letting them run it in the ground. You know? So
did you own other drop zones then too, besides that?
At one time I had Bardstown was the first offspring, Kansas City, Missouri, New Orleans, Louisiana, Jenkinsburg, Georgia, just out of Atlanta, Cleveland, Ohio. I said Kansas.
Michigan?
Yeah, I forgot about Michigan. What was the name of our place in Michigan? Lenny on Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Bradenton?
Bradenton, Florida, yeah.
Wow.
Texas, didn't you have one in there, Dallas?
Huh?
Didn't you have one in there, Dallas?
Yeah, Fort Worth.
And then,
Dallas, yeah. Decatur was the name of that location.
St. Mary's, Florida.
Yeah.
Good grief, you had an empire.
And then
Oh,
you
yeah.
had Lavelle.
Well, Lavelle was the same operation. We moved from one to another there.
Wow. Did you train pilots too?
Yeah, it was a must. I trained myself too. I had Red Stewart's 2 hours and 30 minutes of official instruction in a J3 Cub, and I came home on a Friday night and Saturday morning. I woke up, and my first pilot here was Mark Brunell. He was a young kid, just got a commercial license, and he was supposed to be here at 8 o'clock. I called his mother, he wasn't here, and I walked over to the airplane, started it up, and told the load to get in. And 8 or 9 years later, with like 13,000 hours, I got a license.
Whoa. Did any of the pilots go on to be like airline pilots?
Many of them.
Many of them?
Through the years of all the operations, probably at least 20 pilots that got their time and everything through Greene County Center of Atlanta, New Orleans, all of them, and went on to be airline pilots, yeah.
And how many disasters have you had? I mean, you kind of have to define disaster, I guess.
Well, we've had here at Xenia. We've never hurt anybody in an airplane here in Xenia. We've had a couple Cessna crashes with young pilots, and we were flying 180s, and then we had one Beechcraft that I took in going out this way. And what had happened on that?
Vapor lock.
Yeah, it was vapor lock, and had both engines failed just as we crossed the road.
Oh.
And I had 3 other beaches sitting here. I had 13 people in the airplane. As soon as the airplane come to a stop, there's a out of the airplane, across the road, and get in the airplane. And only one person wouldn't get in there, and it was the girl. Monica, what was her name?
Oh,
and
Monica.
Harold. Did you know Monica?
Yeah, Monica.
Well, Monica's the one we get in here.
But nobody was hurt.
Huh?
Nobody was hurt.
No. No, I never hurt anybody. I hurt myself once in a crop duster. Actually, I didn't find out I had a broken back till
Oh, geez.
6 weeks later or something.
God. Speaking of crop dusters, did you jump at McCook Field? Was McCook Field still around when you were jumping?
We did a demo at McCook Field on the 50th anniversary of the first free fall at McCook Field. There's a picture of it somewhere around here.
And that would be Leslie Irvin?
Yeah. Here it is. Right there. That's a group of people I got together to celebrate the first free fall jump at McCook Field right there. And these are all Greene County, and this is a couple girls from the U.S. parachute team and a couple of guys, and these are all Greene County people. That's Lee's brother George, he was 13.
Oh, really? Wow.
He weighed 68 pounds and was trying to make his first jump, and he couldn't get out of the airplane, so I put him on my arm, stuck him out like Have you met George? You met George?
Yeah, somewhere along the line. The, let's see here. Back here.
Improved most everything, just for showing you pictures.
Well, I was interested in McCook because I had just read up about it, and you said something about crop dusting, and they invented crop dusting at McCook Field.
Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't.
I know
was
there was a lot
surprised
of
at that.
things went on at McCook Field.
Yeah, and including skydiving. So, what would you recommend for people to, if they want to skydive, and why? Why would you skydive?
Well, there's just a certain breed of people that like to do things that are considered adventurous, I guess. Like the Army has many, many soldiers, but very few that volunteer to be paratroopers. And nowadays they have a regular Halo committee and everything in the military, which is all free fall, high altitude, low opening warriors. Are you recording all this too?
So we'll write a book. So, if somebody's interested in doing that, what do you recommend to them on the process?
In skydiving?
Uh-huh.
Well, we just have all kinds of people that are interested. And of course, we used to be the only place, you know. There's a couple of little clubs that jumped on Sunday afternoon, but we were really the first parachute center which was set up to train masses of people, you know. And there's just a certain brand of person that grows up and they like to do adventurous things, and that's what draws them to it.
So are you open every day?
We're open 7 days a week, and the human race is so sissified now that normally 20 years ago, a day like today right now in December, we would be jumping, and now you can't get anybody's jump if it's not 50 degrees and warm, you know.
Yeah, because it's cold up there.
Yeah, 3 degrees, 1,000 feet.
Okay, so if somebody was jumping, would they come here and sign up, and then do they go through training and all? What's the process?
Well, now with the tandem thing, you can experience a parachute jump attached to the front of a tandem master and experience the whole thing, which a lot of people are happy with that. But a person that wants to train to be a jumper, they have to come back and go through a class of 5-8 hours, depending on the person, and learn all the procedures of jumping, reserve procedures and all that, and then we put them out on their own. But now we require everybody to do at least one tandem, because you learn so much and experience so much on that.
And which kind of airplane would they be jumping out of?
Now we have Cessnas on the slow days when we only got a few people around. We jump Cessnas, and then we have twin engines, which takes 12, 13 people. And it just depends on the weather and who's jumping, what airplanes we use.
And they go how high?
The highest accepted jump for experienced people is 12,500 feet above the ground, which is 13,500 feet here at Xenia.
So what do you think about all this experience you've had? Did you enjoy it?
I've sure made a good living doing something I love and never worked a day in my life.
That's great. Anything else you'd like to tell the world?
Come and jump out of an airplane and really live.
To really live, yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.